Here we go, folks. Good morning, everybody. All right. Love to see people streaming into these. This is going to be such an awesome workshop. Hello, Adam and Anthony. Very good. Brian, Deanna, Jan, Christy, Matt, Goosey. Good to see you here, Matt. Matthias, Paul, Rob. All right. Rodney, Will. Very good. Tony and Tony. There's a couple Tonys and Susie. Fantastic. Chris Sewell, there you go. Jamie, good to see you here. Awesome. I would love, as we often do, to start with let us know where you're joining from. Put that in the chat. Presumably, yeah, everyone can chat with everyone. That is awesome. I already know some of the states, but there we go. Susie's kicking us off. Thank you, Susie. Down in Costa Mesa, Austin, Texas, Aurora, Colorado, Frederick, Colorado, Fall River, Tulsa, Louisiana. Awesome. Fort Worth. There we go. Illinois, Wisconsin, Colorado. Lots of Colorado. Good. You guys are investing in sales and marketing in Colorado. Clackamas, Oregon. Good to see you, Justin. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Awesome. Well, it is truly a pleasure to introduce Emily. And we also have Sarah, who is our marketing manager here at ProShop. So these ladies are going to dazzle you with lots of fantastic advice and information on how to up your marketing game so it doesn't have to suck. So Emily, well, actually one more thing. So I'm sure there will be Q&A, but so please put in your questions in the Q&A rather than the chat. That makes it a little easier, but feel free to use the chat to comment on how amazing all this material is. I know it's going to be fantastic. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Emily. Thank you, Emily, for joining us and hosting this for us.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. Turn off the music here. So I think I know a couple of you. I see Brett and Justin, and I saw Matt Goosey. Thank you guys for coming. So I'm Emily Wilkins. I own a marketing agency called Marketing Metal. And I work with job shops, so machine shops, fabrication shops. I work with some automation integrators and product development engineering firms. Anyone who's doing custom services for a larger manufacturing customer. So I put this little workshop together, and I hope that you guys find it valuable. If there's any specific questions that you have or comments or thoughts, put them in the chat and we will try to get to them. We'll have some time at the end to answer questions. So
awesome. Thank you. And I saw Sarah just put in the chat, if you don't have the workbook, definitely click that link and download it right now. Print it out or pull it up in some app that you can comment and mark it up with, because this is definitely an interactive workshop. You'll definitely want to be working on that workbook.
Yeah. So just to give a little introduction to kind of how I approach marketing, I think it's different from how a lot of agencies approach it with shops, because they tend to skip over what I see as the really important part, which is like the meat of the, what is the brand and what does it stand for? What is that message that you're really trying to get to your audience? So this is a customer of mine, Peter's Heat Treating, and Diana came to me last fall, and she had this website. It was 8 years old, and they weren't getting a lot of traffic, and she just felt like it was kind of not getting the point across. It was not, kind of overwhelming, and she was overwhelmed by, she was in the process of taking over the company from her parents, she and her husband. And so marketing fell on her shoulders, and she actually had marketing experience and a marketing background, but she was just feeling overwhelmed by, all of the things that she thought needed to be happening. So the way we kind of package our services. So we put together this package for them where we actually went on site and took some photography and video, spent a lot of time with their team, getting to know them and understanding, what it is that's really special and unique about them, and helping them showcase that in their web presence. So you can see this overwhelmed down here is kind of where she was in the beginning, and then afterward, she was feeling very carefree. So we when I met with her, and they're in Pennsylvania, so we were doing all of this on Zoom, and she was sitting in her conference room on our Zoom call, and I saw this big sign behind her that said, "Give a damn." So when I was developing the brand, I was like, hot damn, like, give a hot damn. Wow, that makes so much sense. So and at first she was like, oh, I don't know if my dad's gonna be okay with that. This is her parents in the front row here. This was at an event that they had sponsored that we also were there to film. And this is another one of their employees in the back, and there were a few of them, and they all showed up with this shirt that we gave them a couple days before, and that's what you really want with your your branding. You want it to be something that people are going to wear proudly and be excited about. So their whole team, they were just so excited when they got these shirts. It's like, give a hot damn, and they wear them a lot. So I just talked to her last week, and she said that seeing the videos, the employees really it was kind of this moment where they were like, wow, this is a real company. Like, that's really cool. And she said that they all have a pretty good idea of what their work does in the world, why it's important, and where it ends up, playing out in our economy. But seeing the videos that we put together really kind of drove it home for them. So it was a really cool experience. So this is what we built for them, bringing a lot of that, the fire, and using a lot of words that, speak to that passion that they have for their work, because it's a really important piece. And it's something that their customers repeatedly told us that they really appreciated, that they take the time to actually, listen and help them develop their products and develop processes specific to their application. So this is kind of what I want to focus on today. It's we'll talk a little bit, there's a lot going on in this workshop, but I really wanted to focus on that messaging piece, and really getting to the root of what's different about you, what do your customers care about, and how can you bring that message to the forefront of what you're doing.
And I want to point out something that it seems clear as you look through that site. So many websites and people's branding is all about me, like us as a company.
Yes.
And this is very much focused on you as the customer. Like, what do you care about? Why are we going to do well for you? And switching that messaging from us to you, I think, is critical, because people mostly care about themselves and their own companies and what they got going on, right?
100%, Paul. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Go through your website and pick out all the places where you say we, we do this, we do this, we do this, and like just change it to, start with the problem that you're addressing and the type of customer that you're working with.
Yeah. Awesome. Good work. That's a beautiful site.
Yeah. So I have this acronym, METAL, and it stands for Mind for the Magic. E is the 3 E's of great marketing: educate, entertain, and engage. The third one is really important, and it's something that I think a lot of marketing managers get stuck on, and it's take it slow and easy. I think a lot of people see marketing as this massive thing, like Diana was in the beginning. Like, she just felt like there was so much to it, and it's just overwhelming. And then you kind of get stuck in that like freeze mode of you don't know what the next step should be, because you just get buried under the mound of to-dos. So and then A is assess and adapt, and L is leverage your links. So we will go through all these. So Mind for the Magic. If you look on your worksheets, the first page is your customer. So figuring out who that ideal customer is that you work with. And I know a couple of you have been to some of my workshops before, and we talk a lot about this. So what I always simplify it into two main things: who are the highest paying customers and who are the most enjoyable to work with. If you're the payment is a weird thing that people, a lot of shop owners tend to be very humble, and they want to make sure that they're being fair, and that's amazing. And I highly encourage you to do that. But also you have to be profitable if you're going to if your business is going to last, if you're going to grow and be able to invest in the things that you need to invest in to make it a great experience for your employees and for your customers, then you have to be profitable. So who are those really profitable customers, and who are the most enjoyable customers? What were the best projects that you worked on, and why? So if you want to take a couple minutes and just jot down a few projects that you can think of, and I'm just going to play a little music here for a couple minutes and give you like 2 minutes to write down some customers.
So we're doing just the highest paying section right now?
You can do both.
Enjoyable as well. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great if you have the same name in both sections. That's even more perfect, right?
That is your sweet spot.
I'm going to go ahead and do this as well. Yeah. And this is how I decided that I wanted to focus on job shops, because I enjoy working with you guys most, and it's most profitable for me, more so than startups and digital companies that have no idea what they're doing. And but also being profitable means that I can deliver really awesome work too at a high level, and that's something that I love about my work. So and if you don't have a lot of experience to draw from, just use your imagination, and you can always come back to this, and you should always come back to this. I would evaluate this often. Yeah, this is an exercise probably worth doing at least every year, right? Or maybe every 6 months.
Oh yeah.
Even.
Yeah. It depends how fast you go through customers, but yeah. Yes, exactly. What are they asking to do, and does it fit with what you do? Are you moving heaven and earth to get this project done that is something that you don't usually do? If so, you're probably losing money on it. Paul actually has a really great blog article about this recently too. If Sarah's able to find it quick.
Yep, I'll find it.
That's the one on customer scorecards, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was. And in that blog, there's actually a picture of the scorecards that we developed at ProCNC, which is this sign right here. And yeah, we went really granular, a little over nerdied it, probably too much, but for sure it was a great exercise and really helped us refine what were the qualities about the customers that were really the best for us. And when you can focus on those and speak to them and find more of them, your profitability goes through the roof. It's so important.
100%.
I'm going to drop another link into the chat as well. Just as I saw the word niche here on your workbook.
Yes.
One of my podcast guests was a guy named Ted Toth with a company that really leaned into their niches, and they were wildly successful, but not trying to be a general shop for everybody, but really focused on what they are really excellent at, and worked super well for them. So that if you want to listen to that episode, it's great education on focusing on your niche.
Yes, I loved that episode. It was really, really good. Yeah,
Thanks
everything.
for listening to it.
Yes, I listened to all of your episodes.
Thank you.
It's the most relevant to my niche, which again is a reason to get super specific about who you're working with, because then it makes your research more valuable. You can you can get more specific in your research and get better at serving that specific niche, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you have your 2 lists, then you see which are on both lists. And then that's where, Paul's blog post really comes in handy of breaking down, okay, what are the things that these customers really have in common? Why were they so successful? What are the different features of, is it the process that you use to onboard them? Is it the type of work that you're doing for them? Is it the values of the people that you're working with? Company size and structure obviously is important. So you can get really deep with this, and I encourage you to do so. So once you know who your ideal customer is, then you can start, I call it getting into their head. So get in their head to find out what their main problem is. Oh, I'm forgetting my slides here. So what's their immediate problem? What are they coming to you with? And use their terms. So what are the words that they're using to describe their problem when they come to you? And once you get inside their head, start thinking about what are the frustrations that they have in their day-to-day. So I have 2 in the worksheet, I have 2 rows. So there's what are the things in their business that they're frustrated about? What are they afraid of? What are the things that come up for them just in their day-to-day? Those are more of the frustrations. The fears are more of the long-term things, like they're worried about losing their job. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about, their biggest customer pulling out, or quality issues, or some of think about what all of those bigger things are that they're worried about, and then reframe them in terms of your service. So when your customer is sourcing machining work, what are the things that frustrate them about that process, and how are you addressing it? And then long term, what are the things that they're afraid of when they are looking for a machining partner, like when they want somebody long term, and how are you addressing that? So when you start to get into those types of fears and frustrations, that's where your good messaging comes from. That's what your website should be focused around. That's what if you're doing social media, that's what that should be focused around. Email blasts, anything that you do, you will always come back to this list of, okay, what are they frustrated about? What are they afraid of? And how are we fixing that?
I'll throw out a couple examples that are probably relevant for machine shops, because I'm sure all of you have heard this. When you have a prospect come to you, they're often frustrated by another vendor not delivering on time, or not delivering good quality parts that they have to reject, or the paperwork's not right, or whatever. So putting that in your messaging and speaking to the fact that you deliver on your commitments, your quality is great, and how you actually do that, what sets you apart from, because everyone says they have great quality and on time, but speaking to the guts behind how you can ensure and reduce their risk and make sure you will be a reliable supplier is probably something they would love to hear about. Yes.
And using stories to prove that. So what stories do you have with previous customers that you can actually talk about, that will really help your prospect get the full picture of what you can do. So feel free to fill these out. Give you a couple minutes to to go through your fears and frustrations.
Yeah, I
And
just
those-
want
Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
I think this is super great. People want to feel like you can solve their problems, but they also want to feel heard by you as well, that you understand what they're going through. Like you were saying with stories, maybe that you've been there before, you know what it's like, and now you have a process to fix it. And I think it can all be summed up in like, you know, just having empathy for people. Empathy is huge in marketing.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's just what I wanted to add.
Yeah, that's the empathy. That's a fantastic word, Sarah. And I think people, people love stories, as you said, Emily. It's like they're the things they remember the most. Like and that can be in the form of, quotes like you put on that website you redid. There's some just short little quotes, but also like case studies and white papers on some problem you solved and, going more in depth about it. I know that's a strategy we use. We do a lot of those, as well as putting, just really nice, memorable quotes that are just easy to consume. And customers might relate to that, what someone else said. They're like, yeah, I want to feel that way. Right.
Yep. Yeah. Like I started my my presentation, Diana went from overwhelmed to carefree, right? That's how everyone wants to feel about their marketing, right? And I say in the description here, like really go to the extremes and amp up the drama. Like, what's the worst case scenario? Like, if they don't get their parts, what's going to happen? They lose their biggest customer and then have to fire half their employees. Like, you can get really you can get really granular and detailed with this and start weaving some of those details into your content. Can you hear my dog?
A little bit. It's cute.
He whines in his sleep. So loud. Okay. It's moving along. So once you have those, then we'll start thinking about how your solution fits. So and I call this part getting in their heart. So what are the day-to-day desires that they have for the way that their work plays out? What are the big dreams that they have for their company or their position in the company? Some funny music. Okay, so again, you'll start with, what are kind of the general things that they worry about in their day-to-day? Is the service section supposed to be our frustrations and fears? No, so it's their frustrations and fears as it relates to your service. So so the first one is a little bit more general of their business, just getting inside their head and figuring out what are the things that they're struggling with every day, but then kind of more big picture. And then your service is like how that specifically relates to, again, sourcing machining work. Does that make sense? You're welcome, Brett.
Yeah. And then I'll throw out something that might be relevant. So, an example might be, if you're speaking to the buyer of machine parts, if you're speaking to the buyer of machine parts, one of their frustrations might be that A, their vendors aren't reliable enough, and B, they have all these young engineers that keep sending drawings that are really hard to make, and so therefore expensive. And if you're coming with some design for manufacturability, kind of feedback and consulting, and can really be a partner for them to help reduce the cost of their designs, and then, give them super great quality always on time, that could be something that's really impactful and helps alleviate some of their frustrations and fears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great example. So then on the other side of things, like their desires are to have a great relationship with a machine shop that they know when their young engineers send a super complex part, that you're not just gonna quote it and make it for them. You'll actually take a look and see, okay, we can change it this way and do it this way, and we'll save you this much money.
Yeah. So the reason that's right at the top of my mind is that's the strategy we used at ProCNC. We went all in on design for manufacturability and started doing newsletters and workshops and office hours with our clients. And like, we're a true partner in helping them reduce the cost of their parts, and then always making sure we delivered them on time.
Yeah,
But
that's an amazing content strategy.
yeah, and if you just give really without the expectation of getting something in return, it's putting out good karma in the universe, and that will flow right back to you, you know. Yeah, we would, you know, during some of our office hours, we would just sit with engineers and help them work through designs. And it was amazing the amount of times they said, "Oh, why don't you quote this at the same time?" You know, or we even helped them with other parts that weren't machined parts. They were, you know, fabricated or sheet metal parts, and we'd help them with those as well. And just, you know, give them the best advice we could and send them on their way. And they really saw that as a partnership.
Yeah, for sure. Or if you can, you know, source components for them so that they don't have to deal with it, or
Absolutely.
You know, send your parts through a quality, you know, a third party inspection service or something. Like any additional things that you can add that can really distinguish you from other shops and make you stand out, and show that you're going to go above and beyond for them. That's where this stuff comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, because they are, especially buyers, they are slammed, they are busy, they have a lot of stuff they need to source, and they want good partners that'll just solve problems for them. So your point, you know, great point of, you know, solving other issues for them. You know, we would often ask them, "Hey, we're making you this part and this part. How do they go together? Like, what's in between these parts?" And sometimes they say, "Oh, here's the sub-assembly drawing. You know, if you want to quote it, that would be great, because right now I have to source it from 4 different vendors. And then we have to assemble it before it goes into this major assembly." And we got so many of those projects that they were just happy to offload and have a solid solution for.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things that we put on right on Peter's website. Like, we take care of up and downstream projects for you. And so
Brilliant.
How's everybody doing with this?
Throw in the chat. You feeling good? You perplexed, stumped? Brett's feeling awesome. Thank you, Brett. Fantastic.
Blaine. Leave it to the Gen Z to be on top of everything.
Absolutely. Very good, Jamie. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, Brad.
Yeah. Okay, so then that brings us to the E's. So in all of your content, no matter what you're putting together, if it's your website or your email or email blasts or social media posts, or if you're doing a presentation even like this, you should always be focusing on how can you educate them? What knowledge do you have to give them? What questions do your customers ask you a lot? What do you wish they would ask you? Really getting to understand what is it that you can teach them. Because like Paul said, if you're training the engineers on manufacturability, like that's gonna improve the way that they interact with your team, but also make them really appreciate you more on a deeper level. So if you want to take a couple of minutes and just write down what are some of the questions that your customers ask you a lot?
I think this is an important exercise too. If you take those FAQs and you put them on your website, or you put other educational content on your website, it's not only, positioning you as maybe a thought leader in your industry, but it can also help your SEO, your search engine optimization, because you're filling your website with those keywords, and Google will recognize that as well. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Great point, Sarah.
Yeah, good stuff, Sarah.
Bye, Kit. Thank you. Still can't find the workbook. Uh-oh.
Deanna, can we send, Sarah, can you send that directly to her, maybe?
Yes, Diana, it doesn't look like I can send a file directly to you, but if you private message me your email, I'll get that email to you for sure.
All right. Everyone got some good questions. So the next E is entertain. What makes you laugh and what makes your customers laugh? Because this is your brand. So you want it to be authentic to you and your team. So what are some of the things that make you laugh? What are some of the things that make you mad? Entertainment doesn't always have to be laughter, right? It can be drama and what are all the types of plays? Comedy, drama, romance.
Yeah, we did some humor things a couple years ago. We made some funny videos that we thought would resonate with shops, that kind of poking fun at like some of the common problems in shops, and in sort of I'll try to find the links, or Sarah, maybe those are the post-it note videos.
Yep.
Did they do well?
Yeah, they did well.
Yeah.
They were
yes, thank you,
they were
Justin.
a lot of fun to make. Yeah.
Comedies, dramas, and tragedies. Yeah, I mean, so and again, with the stories, right? What are some entertaining stories you could tell, or just jokes you could tell? Still have too many post notes. Always.
Thank
you, Sarah.
Yeah.
What was that one?
And I think
give them a game to play, or
and fun fact, if you click on that link to pull that video up, the main person in that video is my son. So if he looks kind of like me, that's why. Yeah, Black Rifle Coffee Company. They do great branding.
Mm-hmm. I always think of the Dollar Shave Club video too when that first came out.
Absolutely. That was game changing.
That was awesome. Yes, most shops do have good stories about their past employees, or also I've worked with a lot of shops that started their own place because the shops that they worked at before didn't treat their customers or their people very well. Mm-hmm. Those all make really good stories too. People want to know why you do what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's also really valuable for your employees too. So it's a win-win. Yes. When people understand your mission and what drives what you do.
Yes, that's a great point that I meant to bring up earlier. That this whole workshop you can really do thinking about prospective hires too. So, you know, you can go through the whole thing and think about, okay, what are the types of people that fit the best here? You know, who, and I guess it's a little bit different with the highest paying thing, but, but
Sure.
you know, it's like
Absolutely.
the quality of people and, you know, how do they fit in personality wise? And how well do they work? Because I think it was at one of your podcasts that somebody was saying they can, you know, you can teach any skill, but it's the personality that really, I hear that a lot
Hire
actually.
for
But
fit, teach the skills.
yeah.
So Brett asked, besides LinkedIn, what are the other good platforms to engage in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say if it's just because I know Brett and Blaine, it's a 2-man shop and you guys are doing all of your marketing. So I would not overcomplicate it, honestly. You're going to get, I think most of your customers are going to be on LinkedIn. Eventually you can start to expand once you have more bandwidth, but honestly, don't try to complicate it. And we'll get to that in a second here, but.
And Sarah, we use different content a little bit different on different platforms, and I know it has worked, like a little more short pictures and video on Instagram.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, you kind of think about the reason why people are going to places. So for
Yes.
LinkedIn, people are ready to be educated, but on Instagram, they're looking to be entertained a little bit more. So yeah.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, and same with like YouTube. So people will watch a longer form YouTube video if it's educational, but they'll maybe watch shorts for more entertainment. But actually, YouTube videos can kind of be both.
Totally.
And you can use the same content on multiple sites, or tweak it slightly. You know, put a shorter form version of something on Instagram, but a longer form version on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, or YouTube.
Yeah, good point. So the third thing is engage. And it's really how can you get your audience to really interact with what you're doing? So so you can do a poll on LinkedIn, or you know, ask for comments or ask people's opinion on things. You can tag certain people in your posts to get their input on things. Any way that you can really get a conversation started is that's going to be really good for your marketing. So what are some ways that you can spark a conversation with your customers and keep it going? Are there questions that they're wondering a lot, or we talked about questions already, but a lot of this engage can be more like, what are some trending topics right now? You know, what things are happening in the economy, or just in the way that people work. You know, there's a lot of talk about workforce development and you know, how robotics are playing into all of that. How's AI playing into our workforce and changing the way that we work? Things like that are really good for engagement.
Another thing that might be relevant on the engagement side is like if the economy is getting a little softer or something, and the customers may want to, you know, like reduce their risk of spend on the parts they buy, you know, offering to do sort of blanket orders. Well, you'll deliver in small batches and just invoice for each batch at a time, rather than them taking a huge batch of parts all at once and having to pay for that up front. So trying to help them maintain their cash flow. Obviously that pushes the problem down on the shop, so it's not always feasible to do that. But those are still often conversations that do speak to some of the concerns that end customers do have, and can definitely get a conversation going with them. And I think at those, oftentimes that engage goes beyond just the marketing. Once you have someone that's responded, then you continue that conversation privately with them, right? So you're also
Yeah.
talking about that phase of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you can get them off platform and on the phone or in an email, that's always going to be good. Yeah, I really, what's that?
Oh, I was just going to say that kind of feeds into the question that Brad put into the Q&A. How do you get your foot in the door with new companies? And for me, there's nothing better than actually being in person, or, you know, a phone conversation rather than email. Like the more personalized you can make it, you know, and when we were trying to find customers at our shop, you know, besides really focusing on SEO and marketing and having companies, you know, from around the country, you know, find us, if it was a big enough prospect, we would get on a plane and go fly there, right? Or if it was local, absolutely, we would, you know, go make the rounds and somewhat cold call, you know, or try to, you know, say I'm going to be in the area. Can I swing by? And then we had a, you know, we had a parts case, a little aluminum briefcase full of really some of our most kind of tricky, intricate machine parts, and they were all nestled in foam nicely. I'd bring those, I'd pull that out, have some nice brochures, a nice crisp, you know, shirt with our logo on it, and just you know, talk to them about the problems they're having with their supply base and what we could do to solve that. People love handling things, looking at physical things. They're like, oh, you know, we have a part that's kind of like this. Let me send that to you to quote, right? It's remarkable how much of those little things like that can trigger their interest in engaging with you.
Yeah, for sure. I liked, I think on one of your episodes too, they were talking about how they always provide 3 different prices. There's like the today price,
yes,
the, you know, normal lead time price, and then the long lead time price. I think that was
that's a great strategy.
Really smart idea. Yeah. Yeah, and even like any way you can speed up your quoting process, obviously having a solution like ProShop ERP would be good.
Yeah, Justin, great point that they know about all of your capabilities, because yeah, I would sometimes go to a shop and I'd maybe walk their floor and be like, hey, you know, we make parts just like that. And they're like, oh, we had no idea you did that. Right. Or assemblies, you know, they didn't know you do assembly work. They thought you just made single components and whatever it might be.
Yep.
And that's hard.
Where case studies come in really handy.
Yeah, in our newsletters, we did a part of the week or part of the month where we always put a different type of part as a picture. You know, a tiny part, a long part, a round part, a square part, you know, an assembly, whatever it might be, something with finishing, something without finishing, you know, and we'd highlight sort of the special parts about that. You know, maybe it was, you know, hard anodized plus chem film with intricate masking and assembly, right? And we'd highlight that in the newsletter and on our website, and then they might see that and say like, oh yeah, I have a part just like that, and I didn't know you guys did parts that complex.
Yeah. Yeah, that is what I was going to say too. The emails are so easy to put out to existing customers, and a lot of times that happens where you'll be working with a customer for years and they'll have no idea that you know, do this other thing that they actually need. So all right. So this is my personal favorite because, as we talked about a little bit, like I think people get really overwhelmed with marketing, and that's why I came up with this. That's why the title of my presentation is Marketing Doesn't Have to Suck, because I think a lot of times people just get that glazed eyes like, oh my God, this is going to take me forever to build this. And I know I actually felt that way as an early marketer, and I didn't always think that this was the career path that I wanted to take. So because I just felt like it was changing all the time and you never know what's working and what's not. And So like I was just saying to Blaine, and Brett, you guys are a 2-person shop. Like don't try to bite off all the things. You don't have to do all the things. Just start small, pick one thing and get really good at that. Do LinkedIn, make sure your website, looks good, make sure you're using the right keywords, and make sure that it's fast, and then once you get through that, then you can start posting some content on LinkedIn. If you have video skills and you feel like making explainer videos, then start a YouTube. I really try to drive this home of, what are the things that you want to be doing? Like, if you have to pick a couple, what are the things that are going to bring you most joy and be most fun for you and your team? And then anytime you can, break up your big projects into small tasks. And just focus on 1 to 3 big tasks a day. Anytime I put more than 3 things on my to-do list, they never get done.
Yes, Sarah and I have that same issue. We're trying to do everything all the time.
Yeah, you're trying to do everything.
Yeah.
I know, and then you feel bad at the end of the day because you're like, oh my God, I didn't get anything done, and you're like down on yourself because you didn't get to all the things. But and that's good too. Also, I had a mentor tell me that, if you don't get to all of your tasks, then that means you're pushing yourself. So that's good. But if you start with 9 and you end with 9, that's not going to be good for your self-esteem. So break it down, pick a couple to focus on each day. I'm really guilty of like getting sucked into my focus and not moving from my desk for hours on end. And then that's not good either, because you kind of burn your brain out. So make sure you get up and take breaks. I read that the perfect break is like 19 minutes, because it's like not so much time that you're getting like forgetting what you were working on, but it's enough time to actually let yourself relax a little bit. So, and then with the marketing thing, I always tell people, just commit to spending so many hours a month creating your thing. And whether it's, whether it makes the most sense for you to do like a half hour a day, or just block off like 4 hours a week, or 2 hours, 1 hour a week, whatever you can work into your schedule. Just make a commitment to yourself, and then actually schedule it into in your calendar, because otherwise you won't do it. Especially if it's a new big scary thing. You got to make it super easy to bite it off and get started. Momentum is everything.
Yeah.
If you can't get started, then you're not gonna keep it going. So
yeah, and turn off your phone and pause your inbox for that period of time, like disconnect and just focus on it. Yeah.
Yes. Focus mode.
There's a great book called Deep Work. I think it's by Cal Newport, and he talks about some of the stuff that you both have been talking about here.
Yeah, it's so important. We just have so many distractions all the time coming at us. If you need to get out of the office, do that too. Like, go to a coffee shop.
Yeah, and to reiterate your point number 1, don't try to do 5 different things and don't do any of them particularly well. Definitely focus on one and just double down on doing that really well until it's like, reflexive and just you're really competent at it, and then add something else. It's way better overall to be excellent at a smaller number of things, just like niches, just like the machine shop business. Don't try to be a jack of all trades and take on any type of work you can possibly get your hands on. Get really good at certain types of things.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So, I skipped my slide. Any what about Bob fans in this workshop today?
Sure. What about Bob fans?
I'm sure there's got to be. So Baby Steps is the name of the book that his his shrink is writing. He's just releasing this book called Baby Steps. And yes, Matt, go cycling for an hour and come up with yes. Yeah, physical exercise and just getting outside and walking. If that is a great way to let your brain relax and be able to come up with ideas for things. And it's counterintuitive because you feel like you need to be doing something, right? You need to be sitting at your computer and doing something, but it's actually getting out and getting some exercise, breathing, taking in the fresh air. That's what's going to get your gears turning. So.
And I'll also contend that your brain will do that whether you make time for it or not.
Sure.
And doing that in a planned time or you're out, enjoying yourself. Sarah can attest that at like 3:30 in the morning, I sent a message to our marketing chat because I woke up and my mind was racing. But if I had gone for a walk yesterday, I probably would have had the same thought and could have sent it at like, 2 p.m. instead of 3 a.m. So
yes, that is.
Don't let it wake you up in the middle of the night because it's, your brain's working on it so hard.
Yes. Yeah, that is exactly right. Your brain won't shut down if you don't give it time to get everything out. I write in a, well, we'll get to this, but so this on the worksheet, the take it slow and easy, page 5 is where we're at. Build in bulk is the second one, and that's that blocking out creative time, focused creative time. Keep a shared document that you and your team can access with ideas so that you can just write them down as they come to you. Make it easy to access on your phone, so that, if you're out walking or cycling, well, hopefully you pull your bike to the side before you type in your phone, but so, and be thinking about, what are the things that you want to change about your industry? What kind of crusade are you on? How are you trying to make things better? What are the hot topics that are trending right now? And then again, make a commitment, spend however many hours a month kind of playing with these ideas and coming up with possible titles. So if let's say you're doing some blog posts, which I encourage because that's good for your search engine optimization. So just pull an idea from your vault and think about different titles that you can come up with. So I have a couple bullets on here, go deeper, look for the angles, find the objections. Like, what are the things that people would object to when you bring up your idea? What are some analogies and metaphors that will help your customer get a better understanding of what you're trying to communicate? Google your ideas, see what other people are writing about them. And another trick that I've picked up too is when you see other people posting in social media about your idea, whatever you're talking about, look at the comments and see, like, this is great on YouTube. If you find a YouTube video, look through the comments and see what people are asking about, and then answer that question in your content. You can ask ChatGPT for title ideas. They'll spit you out a bunch of titles. And you can prompt it. So
Emily, do you have a build in bulk slide you want to move to?
Thanks.
No problem.
That one. Are you getting sick of seeing Bill Murray walk here? Yes. So, and then once you have, your ideas, then you spend so many hours every month. Again, make that commitment. How many hours are you going to spend, and schedule it out, turning however many pieces or however many ideas into however many pieces of whatever type of content you're doing. So that's what the blanks are. So say spend 4 hours a month turning 2 ideas into 2 blog posts and 5 social media posts or whatever. Just write it down so that you're making that commitment to yourself so that you actually do it.
And for those that follow me, you'll see this in action with the stuff that we create. So we have a shared Google sheet called content creation, and there's different tabs for blog posts or videos or things like that. And, you know, if I get an idea, or if Sarah has an idea, we'll just jot it down in that area under the sort of the ideas tab. And then we'll sort of flesh out that idea with, you know, what could we do with that for the actual title, and what would be the talking points. And then we turn those into blog posts. And then, as you probably see, I do a short little video for every blog post where I just kind of summarize it for a minute or two and talk a little bit about why I think it's important or whatever. And then, you know, we share that post in the links. But you know, it's exactly the process that Emily's talking about. You know, we block out that time, we have a brainstorming place where we spend time to put that, and then we execute on it. And, you know, we make sure we do it reliably enough, because consistency is really important. And I'd love to even be more consistent, but, you know,
I know.
nonetheless, yeah, so great advice. And I've heard people say that the pro shop marketing is pretty decent, you know, and that's partly because we're using the practices that Emily's talking about here. We really are.
It is great. You guys do an awesome job. And you brought up a really good point too about taking an article and turning it into a video, or vice versa. Starting with longer form content is really easy to turn it into other types of content. And, you know, if you're better at just having conversations, then just have a conversation with somebody with a camera on, and then, you know, edit that into a video and then transcribe it. And then you can have somebody edit it for you into an article. So it's really figuring out ways of repurposing that content, and you'll get better at it as you do it. But it's easier to take a longer form piece of content and turn it into a bunch of smaller pieces than creating a bunch of social media posts with tiny captions and then trying to turn that into a blog post.
So that actually feeds right into a question that Jackson had. What type of content can I create just getting started? What would you say to that, Emily or Sarah?
Who's Jackson? Are you
Jackson,
in machine shop?
Yeah, so go ahead and put in the chat, Jackson. What kind of company do you have there? I think I know, but
I need to hire someone 2 generations younger. Yes. To work the camera, but you know, the knowledge is going to come from you, Rodney, right? You're the one with all the experience. So how can you download that experience out of your brain and onto a video? Or I suggest Otter to my, and I have a slide on this too, but I suggest that to my customers a lot. Otter.ai, it's just a transcription tool, or you can even do talk to text too. That works as well. But Otter's nice because it'll record your, it's just voice memos. So you can record a voice memo and then it'll transcribe it for you and like syncs the audio with the text so that you can go through and kind of, you know, you just speak a blog post and then have somebody kind of edit it for you into something coherent. So yeah, I would say start small. Obviously that's my mantra, start small, but and I know I just said that it's easier sometimes to yes, a marketing agency for machine shops. You could use that too. But I mean, Brett Lister and Blaine they're a great example. Actually, they've been taking pictures of their work and posting it on LinkedIn with, you know, comments about the project. That's a really easy thing to, you know, that's a really easy piece of content to put together. I know I just said start with longer form things and turn it into smaller things, but but when you're just getting started, I mean, just do. Yeah, right, Brett. Super easy to do. Just start doing and see what works. Just try some different things and see what feels best to you, what gets traction, and that consistency is really important. Like I think I have that somewhere in here, but give yourself enough time. Like whatever you try, make sure you try it enough. Like give it the old college try and make sure that you're giving it enough time before you give up on it too.
Mm-hmm. There's also been a bunch of questions around parts that you can't take pictures of, or ITAR parts.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a legitimate concern. And the strategies that I might think about for this are, you can still, I mean, for when it's not ITAR and it's just like proprietary stuff from your client, asking them, it is ideal, of course, to ask them to share content, share pictures. If you have the specific picture in mind, sharing that with them. If it's maybe not even the whole part, but just a little piece of it, showing some of the workmanship, maybe. Sometimes if we had clients that weren't, that didn't have a strong opinion about it, we would just post the part without any reference to them at all. Just like, here is a aerospace part, or here's a medical part. Especially if they're showing the same types of parts on their website, right? Which is often the case. It's relatively safe to be able to post similar pictures like that. If it is ITAR, you can still describe the types of parts. You could take pictures of the fixturing, of, again, an incomplete part that's partway done. As long as it's not showing the whole thing, you're probably pretty safe.
Yeah. Or like close up on a detail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And saying the fact that you can't show the whole thing because it's ITAR just lets other prospects know that you do that type of work. You do ITAR work, and you care
And that
about
you respect
protecting it. You
them.
respect
Yeah.
the rules around it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love Matt's 3 things: start small, think big, move fast, for sure. So the last one is keep it stupid simple. And this is going way back to Dick Van Dyke's heyday of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Mr. Potts, the inventor that he creates this crazy contraption to make breakfast for his niece and nephew, and it blows up in his face. So again, remember that you're a small shop, you're not a Fortune 500, so don't try to do all the things. Don't try to do it all yourself. If you have a team, developing marketing content is a great way to build for team building. It's a great way to really bring your team together and get them kind of outside of their normal comfort zone, and thinking differently about your work. And and anytime you can, when you're developing marketing content, if you're educating your team at the same time, that's only going to be good, because that'll help them better represent your company too. Get the veterans with the newbies, and have the newbies try to pull the knowledge out of the veterans in a video form or whatever. Like, there's so many different things that you can do. You can play games. I've done I have a really fun game that I've played with a couple of my customers that's like Cards Against Humanity, but it's called Brands Against Mundanity.
Oh, nice.
So that's a really fun one. Always best with adult beverages. But so, and then another thing that's really important: your content doesn't have to be completely original. It's not going to be. There are how many billion people in the world now? Like 8 billion? I don't even know. There are a lot of people out there, and we all have similar ideas. So you're not going to have something that's like completely new that has zero influence from the outside world. So don't worry about trying to be super new and original. It just has to have your specific voice and your spin on it. Like, nobody's going to have the same stories that you do about about your life or whatever. So anytime you can bring those personal elements in, that's going to make your content more personal to you. Again, no matter what you do, consistency is really important. Making it fun for you to produce is important. And knowing that you're going to get better with practice. Because anytime it's fun for you or a challenge for you, you're going to be more likely to try it. Yes, Justin, exactly. Anything it's all been done. That Bare Naked Ladies song. It's all been done. Okay. ChatGPT again is great for helping come up with ideas so that you're not staring at a blank page, because that's always the hardest place to start. And you can leverage other tools. So here are a few tools that we use that are free or super inexpensive. I did this presentation in Canva. Sarah and I were talking about the pros and cons of Canva versus PowerPoint or Google Slides. I love Google Workspace. I know a lot of shops use Microsoft, but and they're catching up. I guess there's some similar things, but that it's doing now. But Grammarly, if you guys don't have Chrome and you're not using Grammarly, go out and get it right now, because it's when you have spelling errors and grammar errors in your content and your emails, and it just it just makes you seem a little bit less intelligent. So use Grammarly, because it's a great tool that helps you use proper English when you're speaking. ChatGPT again is free and easy. We use Squarespace a lot for websites because most job shops don't need a super complex WordPress custom built website. You just don't need that. It's a waste of time and money. So we love Squarespace. It's all in one platform, super easy to use. Otter again is easy. If you're on LinkedIn a lot and you see people post where their captions have different fonts and stuff, there's these websites out there like Fancy Fonts that you can copy and paste your text into, and it'll let you copy and paste a formatted text into LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever.
So I was curious about how they did that.
I know I was too. I had to look it up. So I found Fancy Fonts. And when I have a lot of time, I actually use it, but it's not been the case lately. So I've been pretty boring with my posts. MailChimp is a really easy email marketing platform and free still, as far as I know. We don't use that one so much anymore, but and then the last point, I'm going to keep it simple, is just focus on your strengths and hire out the rest. If you do decide to hire something out, just be really clear on what you're trying to communicate, and know that you get what you pay for. Fiverr is a great resource. Jasper AI is one for marketing content. It's just with any of these like AI tools, or even Fiverr, when you're hiring just a cheap, somebody to make a graphic for you or something, you just have to know that you get what you pay for, and always be, prepared to edit it too and make it your own, because ChatGPT is not going to give you exactly what you need. You still need to go through and kind of make it your own. You can get really creative with prompts and get it to be really close to what you need, but you still will have to tweak it. So okay, and we're going way over on time here. So the rest of the worksheets it's really more of like instructions. They're not really a workbook. So I can kind of let you guys do this on your own, but I mentioned earlier, I find it really useful to track my progress in a paper journal. They've done studies on your ability to retain information using a computer calendar or a paper calendar, and the paper wins hands down every time. So I just have this, like, it's a bullet journal, but I do like a habit tracker thing here. And I put my business stuff, I'll put business stuff in there, like outreach and different things that I know that I need to focus on. If you're tracking it, then you're more likely to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Analyze your data over time, and know which metrics matter. We don't have time to really dive into this right now, but don't pay too much attention to your vanity metrics. Your likes and shares are not always super important. The really important things are the quantity and quality of your RFQs that you're getting. The data can help you kind of figure out what's working and what's not, but try not to, assess whether you're failing based on your likes and comments, because that's not.
Yeah, and I'd also suggest
point.
keeping just even a simple sheet of when you do have someone reach out for an RFQ or to talk to you about anything. Try to remember to ask them how they found you, where they found you, why they reached out, and keep that note. And we track where our leads come from, and ultimately which clients came from which lead source. So if you do track it from the very earliest stages, when they do become a customer, you can say this customer came to us because I posted this video on LinkedIn and they saw that, and that's what prompted them to reach out. And the more you can track that and keep a log, the more likely it is it'll help inform what's really adding value to your own business, and you can do more of that in the future. Yeah.
Yep. So keep adjusting as you figure out what works and what doesn't. Celebrate your wins often, even and sometimes especially the small ones. Oh, I don't know what's happening with my slide here, but for yourself and for your team, it's really important when you're taking on new, when you're trying new things like marketing, to just acknowledge your progress. Know that, be grateful to yourself for actually doing it, even if it was a complete failure or whatever. Just find something to celebrate, because it's important to keep your momentum going, to keep you engaged and keep you wanting to continue. So the last one is leverage your links. So I know some of you have been to my my LinkedIn workshop, which we talk about this a lot, but so the first page in the worksheet is citations. So a citation is any link that is driving traffic to your website. So so a social media account, for example, will have a link to your website. Or if somebody shares a blog post that you made on social media, that's going to be considered a citation. You want to make sure that your listings are up to date, your Google Maps, Bing, all of these, Yellow Pages, these things in the middle here, the Bright Local, Moz, and SEMrush, those will actually manage your listings for you. If you pay like a yearly fee, and they'll make sure that they all stay up to date for you. And then another good way to get citations is through and industry specific links or listings are really good too. So if there's like Modern Machine Shop, I think they have a directory. A lot of those publications will have a directory. So it won't always be free to get your listing in there, but they are, it is a really good high quality source to make sure that you have your website listed and make sure all of your contact information and everything is up to date. make sure that your messaging is right there and really targeted and succinct. So local and industry press, sending press releases to your, your local newspapers, or again to like Modern Machine Shop or some other industry. If you're targeting the aerospace industry, send it to like Aerospace and Defense magazine or different things like that. And really getting to know those journalists and building trust with them, and with editors, and pitching stories to them. And then you can track your mentions in the news with Google Alerts. And then there's like these free services, the Newswire and PR Fire, that you can submit press releases to. Social media accounts as links. And anytime you can get on a podcast or do a guest blog post on somebody's, on somebody's blog. Strategic partnerships are good too. If you have a preferred vendor list, even if it's like your bank that you use, if they have a preferred vendors page and they're willing to link to your website, that's another good way to get links out there.
So I imagine a lot of machine shops are saying to themselves, what could I possibly have that's news PR worthy? Like,
Yes.
that I got a new machine, that we got a new cut. Like, do you have any ideas about what they could submit press releases about?
Yeah. So anytime you get a new piece of equipment, that can be a good one. If you expand into a bigger building or do an addition or renovation, new employees, especially like key hires, are good ones.
Quality certifications.
Yep, quality certifications or new memberships. Like if you join those ones are probably not as important, but anytime that you can do, like if you do a tour with a school, or you go to a school to speak, or if you come up with a unique process for doing something,
Win an award.
Like win an award, yeah, that's a good one. And you can apply to win awards.
Yes,
most of them are.
I was just gonna say, apply.
You have to nominate yourself. Nobody's gonna nominate you.
No one's gonna know. Yeah, back in the Pro CNC days, we totally nominated ourselves for like fastest growing in the state and the Inc. 5000 and best companies to work for, and we often got those awards. And we could put those on our website. Definitely do a press release. Put it in your newsletter. But yeah, it's just the whole concept of just doing it. Try it. Get out there. Don't assume that you're not important enough or big enough or good enough to submit yourself for some of these awards. Yeah, it's kind of there for the taking. You just gotta take it.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last thing is networking. This is something that people never think of. Like, I never thought of this. This was something that I learned in a marketing agency group that I joined. Reach out to your connections, like people that especially, you can go through and rank them and, target the ones that are more likely to know your target audience. But just reaching out and having a catch-up call and seeing what they're up to, and then telling them about what you're up to, especially if it's something new. If you're getting really specific about the type of customer you're working with and what you're doing for them. So I put this little script in the workbook. It's really, really easy way to get warm leads to your business, because cold calling sucks. And everyone hates doing it. People hate getting cold calls. So it's really hard to actually make the right connection and turn a cold call into a sale. So start warm instead. Just see if you can get a referral from someone. Start with previous customers. right? Reach out to your customer and say, hey, we're, expanding, or we have extra capacity, or we're looking to work with more customer, you've been such a great customer. We're looking for more awesome customers like you. Do you know anybody? Things like that is, you're more likely to make traction that way than starting cold.
Absolutely.
So, questions? I have 10 minutes for questions.
You actually timed this perfectly. This is fantastic.
Sort of.
I'll throw out there that just on the topic of just doing it and getting outside your comfort zone. Not a lot of people know this and probably have a hard time believing it, but I used to be absolutely petrified to speak in front of almost anyone. Like freeze up, get the cold sweats, like barely get my words out, kind of freaked out about it. And I just had to learn to overcome that. And there's nothing better to do that than to just do it, And actually, I believe that when we had our machine shop, that yeah, you too, Justin. That the organic growth over many years for that was actually one of the things that helped me do that. Because when we started, it was just the original owners, and they were just my friends, and that wasn't nervous. I wasn't nervous about that. But as we hired employees, we'd have 2 or 3, and then 5, and then 10, and each time I'd have to speak to them at like a company all hands meeting or whatever, and as the groups got bigger and bigger, I had, just got a little more comfortable speaking to more people at a time. And pretty soon we had, well, not pretty soon, after many years, we had, 75 people or so. And that seemed normal now to me, to talk in front of 75 people. So, yeah, just got to try it and get out of your comfort zone. One other tip I will suggest for getting sort of leads and prospects, especially if you're kind of trying to focus some of your marketing attention to design for manufacturability or engineers or people like in that realm. We at ProCNC, we basically bought a list from, it was a website that did engineering content and engineering stuff, and they had lists of people that had opted in to receiving emails. And so they gave us, we bought a list, or did some, not, we didn't buy the list. We did some emails through them. So it was like when we first had our DFM newsletter. And so we basically sent that through them. And then the call to action for those newsletters was to sign up for our own direct newsletter. And so we ultimately cultivated a couple thousand engineers on that list over the course of 3 or 4 years. And that was a great, source of leads for continuing to publish that content on design for manufacturability, which did absolutely led to lots of RFQs and lots of work. But we were doing it just by sharing our best advice on how to improve their designs. So
yeah, for sure. And that's again, those are warm leads because they've warmed up to you from looking at your content.
Right.
But by the time they talk to you, they feel like they know you.
Yeah.
That's why video is really powerful too. And speaking, getting on podcasts, I totally agree, Paul. I still get sweaty and terrified when I'm talking to people, but.
So we have a question from Brandon in the chat or in the Q&A. We have mainly grown our book of business from cold calls with hardly any marketing. Amazing. It's almost all strictly high volume, 1,000+ pieces. Do you think trade shows are a good place to expand our customer base?
Yeah, they can be. It depends on what show you're going to and who you're targeting. So again, that's where getting really specific on who your target customer is important. And I would say to me, the most valuable piece of trade shows is the networking parts. Going to the parties, or even at the end of the day, a lot of times booths will have they'll be giving out beer or have food or whatever. Like anytime you can do stuff like that, and just go up and introduce yourself to people, find out what they do. And this is where having a really clear message of, who you work with and what exactly you do for them, that's going to be really key, because they'll actually remember you. And make sure you get their card and follow up after. In terms of actually exhibiting at trade shows, it can get really pricey. So I would say, make sure you have a really strong plan in place before you do all of that, and start small. Try like a design to part show or something like that, where it's just a low investment. If you're near Michigan, the Advanced Manufacturing Expo is really awesome in Grand Rapids. It's a really low price point to entry to. So
yeah, the design to part show can be great, but as Emily said, make sure you have a good plan. Don't just throw together a booth and show up without sort of an action plan. Plan in advance, kind of how you're going to speak to those niche clients the ones that you really have identified you want, like your point, Brandon, that you do higher volume. So that should be in your signage, in your marketing materials, in the pictures you have, and that'll speak to people that have higher volumes that need that kind of work.
Yeah, it helps to have really cool giveaways that people will actually use. I have really fun stickers. Here's a Stay Sharp one, but people come to my booth for my stickers because they're
nice.
I have one that says "Crush that shit."
Nice.
That's everyone's favorite.
I'll put in the chat. This was a fairly recent interview on my podcast, and Dave Hanna, the gentleman that I interviewed, he absolutely went to trade shows, even pretty far away from his state. So he's in Idaho. He went to trade shows in Texas and further, and absolutely got clients that are still clients today, many years later. Right. So
oh yeah,
I think those were the design to part shows. So those can absolutely be quite effective.
Yeah, you can't beat that in person. You really can't beat the in-person experience. Like these, video calls and things like that are, they're up there, but it's still not like, going out and having a drink with somebody after.
And I'd even suggest if you're making the investment to, to go somewhere, particularly further away for a show, make your return ticket like a couple days later even, and see if you can go visit their facility after the show. They're like, yeah, let me, I'm not leaving for 2 more days. Can I swing by tomorrow and like actually kind of talk to you and look at your parts? And you'll find you're very likely people will say, yeah, I'd love to do that.
That's a great tip. Yeah. Always make sure that you leave room for after events.
Yeah.
The after party.
So what are we looking at here on the screen, Emily?
Yeah. So, I do this thing with new customers called the setup. It's where we deep dive into, who you are, what you're great at, what type of customers you like working with the best, get really detailed on what you're, who you are, what you're about, what your goals are. And then I afterward will do some research and write up a brief that details what I see as your best strategy moving forward with marketing. It's a really awesome exercise. All of our customers have loved doing it. It's $950, and so you get $50 off if you use Rad Shop when you book. It's a calendar link that you book, and and then at the end of the brief, I provide a recommendation for moving forward with one of our packages. So, but you can also just take the brief and run with it. So it's really meant to be valuable on its own.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Emily. That's fantastic. Let's see. And then your last slide, I think, says get radical. There you go. Give it stupid. I like you flip those words. That's better. So yes, thank you so much, Emily. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us and sharing your insights as well. I know for sure just from the chat, please put in the chat if Emily's a rock star, because for sure she is. And I think this was truly a great interactive workshop. I love the engagement from everyone, the questions, the chat. Thank you, everybody, so much. Oh, Lisa Childs, good to have you here.
Thanks,
Seeing all these
Justin.
names I know. So yeah, this is an area that most manufacturers honestly don't put enough emphasis in, and it is to their detriment. And I know it's not your first nature to be a marketer and promote yourself. As you said, Emily, a lot of shop owners are very humble and quiet and just, you know, want to make great parts, but this is an important part of owning a successful business. And you got to get radical, get out there and do it. And it will become less uncomfortable as you do it more. So
Yep.
thank you,
And
everyone.
if we're not connected on LinkedIn, make sure to reach out to me.
Yep. She's easy to find. And yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you all for coming to this. Really appreciate you investing in your own business. It's so important to do that. And kudos to you for showing up. And don't put this on the shelf and don't touch it again. Keep on working on the workshop, on the workbook, book that time in your calendar. I call mine power hours. So you can steal that if you want, make your power hours, do some marketing content, and get out there and start crushing it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate your time today, and great job, Emily and Sarah. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
See you
Bye.
around.